Very well. So the goal of this presentation is to give you a bit of an overview of this last year, and actually the first year of CS3MESH. So I will assume that you have at least some degree of familiarity with the goal of the project. So I'm not going to go into detail. If you want to know more about what's behind, what's the rationale of the project, what's the motivation for CS3MESH, for EOSC, and for CS3MESH, my presentation, the presentation I gave on Tuesday, could be useful. You can glance over the slides, for instance. But very, very quickly, in a nutshell, the idea is that we're building a decentralized mesh of EFSS nodes, which are based on open standards and open source. We're building a federated environment for collaborative research. And on top of these layers, we want to provide an application platform for distributed collaboration. Let's rewind to January 2020. The world was a very different place. I'm sure you will agree. And we were in Copenhagen, oblivious to what was about to happen, enjoying some nice Danish beer. So we had our kickoff meeting on the 30th and 31st of January 2020. And around the table, we had 12 partners. The family grew a bit since Trust IT joined in the meantime. And by then, already from January, we started engaging already with the community. You will remember that if you were present at the CS3 conference, we had a Meet the CS3MESH presentation. And we started engaging and contacting partners, possible collaborations. And it's really nice to see. I see many known faces on the participant list, so it's really nice to see you again. And as I hope I will show you, it's been a very busy year for the project. So let's talk about 2020 and why not everything was that bad. This is the CS3MESH layer cake. So at the bottom, we have the enterprise file sync and share systems that we know well. At the top, we have the applications and research services we are trying to provide to our communities. And in the middle, we have the glue that makes all of this work in a mesh-like fashion. So we have on one side, the federation. That's the part which relates to controlling the nodes which are part of the mesh, cataloging them, measuring indicators on them. And on the other side, complementary to this, we have the IOP, the interoperability platform, which takes about the actual communication between the nodes and the actual underlie the whole idea of this mesh. So in terms of federation, we started by establishing a roadmap for trust in early 2020. And this roadmap basically established a set of use cases, which are the main use cases for the mesh, and based on which then we established the concept of federated identity within the mesh and how this identity is going to be managed across the different nodes. We also set up a registry of the nodes of the mesh based on GocDB and on a new component called Mantix, which we have developed. And we started doing monitoring based on Prometheus and Grafana, basically to monitor the nodes of the mesh. You have actually a screenshot here on this slide. And we also established the operational procedures of the mesh. We started writing lots of documentation on criteria to join the mesh, security practices. This is all currently ongoing. And we expect that all of these will be in a ready state in mid-2021. As you can see, there's already a kind of prototype which works, and a proto mesh is already there. But by mid-2021, we will have our first proof of concept fully running, and that's the first checkpoint. So let's move to the IOP. So we started by setting up the established to establish the protocols and APIs which will be used to link the nodes of the mesh. Unsurprisingly, we settled on CS3 APIs and OCM, WebDAV, and a few WOPI and a few others. And sorry. We set up a package distribution which the partners then installed on their own nodes. So we currently have 8 sites interconnected already in this proto mesh based on this distribution which we've set up. And we've also created a companion application which actually does this automatic onboarding into the mesh. So it's available for on-cloud and X-Cloud. Normally we'll install the application plus the IOP and you're set to go. But anyway, there will be more about that in Daniel's presentation. You can already join the mesh. That's something which is already documented and possible, but we will see more about that later in this workshop. So I'm already paving the way for that. Then in what regards the applications, which I've shown run on top of the whole infrastructure, there's been a lot of progress, a lot of contacts. So on Tuesday, I've also shown this slide in which you see different families of applications we've been working on, from open data, data analysis, collaborative editing, and even data transfers. There are a series of projects already ongoing. You can see at different stages. We are still considering whether overleaf is a viable option. There are also some ideas about FTS and Rusio, but not very consolidated yet. And we are actually very actively already working on certain parts of it. That you'll see that the data analysis tools are pretty advanced already. The collaborative editing as well. Our clone is also moving forward, and we are still in a planning state, pre-prototype state in the open data front, but there's already very good progress. So about this progress that happened throughout the year, you can actually refer to some of these presentations that were given at the CS3 conference, at the main event these last few days. So there's Davide's presentation on Jupyter Lab for Earth observation, which is really nice and includes very nice visualizations, which really give you a sense of the real work that can be done with this sort of platform. There's Martin's presentation on which is a slightly more high level, but which also shows the work that Aileron Software Mind has been doing on the mesh, and also regarding the Jupyter Lab and also the IOP. Giuseppe's presentation on CodeMD and how this prototype is already working at CERN and can already be used from CERN Box. And also Mario's presentation on Swan, Rusio, and Jupyter, which, although not a result of the work done within the project, is something quite interesting in terms of the directions we might want to go in the future. So along the way, we've established a series of synergies. Some of these stacks are actually not being developed, within the project in isolation, but we have invited others from the community, but from outside the project to help us out. So we are in conversations with several vendors about new features and integrations. For instance, we're sponsoring new developments in our clone as part of our data transfer effort. We are actually funding development of features in the platform, which is always good to help open source move forward. We have a partnership involving University of Technology in Sydney, Paradisec, and also the Zenodo team at CERN, in which we're using we're building a prototype for open data and research data services based on the work that has already been done by Münster University on Skivo, and also on UTS's the Scribo tool. So about that, you can actually refer to Peter's presentation during the conference, Peter and Lennart. which shows a very nice overview of the system they have in place and what we are planning for also a bit for the future. There's also Marco and Peter's presentation on the Scribo, which gives you a little bit of the context and what you might expect from this particular tool we're working on. So actually, your application or service could be the next one. So this is not only, you know, about going over the work we've been doing and showing the results. It's also about inviting you to come to us and let us know about your use cases. Maybe there is this wonderful tool you're using day to day and you think it would fit right in. You know, maybe there's something you are working on and you think would be a good thing to integrate with. So feel free to come to us and talk about it. A word also about Qubit, which I think is objectively one of the really nice and really cool things we've been able to work on during the project. I mean, the integration with Qubit, of course, Qubit already existed, and Gianluca gave a very nice presentation on the actual Qubit concept during the conference. But now you can actually, you have a physical device which can basically integrate the CS3MESH. We can be part of the mesh, and they've done really nice work together with the guys in Work Package 3 on the integration with the CS3 APIs and the IOP, so that they could be effectively part of the mesh.
Pedro, sorry to interrupt you. We have one raised hand. Would you like to take the questions during the presentation or afterwards?
I'm almost done, so maybe we can take them afterwards.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So just a word about communications. And I think, you know, Rita is going to talk a little bit about these afterwards. But there's been a very nice effort in terms of setting up the communication, not only for the CS3MESH4EOSC European project, but also for the Science Mesh as a product. And we put in place a project website and branding, a Twitter account, which you're really encouraged to follow, a newsletter, which you can subscribe to, and many other things like videos. And we now have also our own branding for Science Mesh, so actual website which went live a few days ago, and documentation which we will refer to in the upcoming presentations on how to join the actual thing. And we will keep organizing events as this one. It's also something we will invest a lot in inviting you every now and then to you know, to meet, possibly in the future physically, depending on how the situation evolves, but to meet and discuss and come up with new ideas. This is the roadmap for the future. Mid-2021, I've already said we have a consolidated proof of concept based on this first prototype in which we will be allow users to share share data and applications with other users. In early 2022, we will have a second prototype based on the concept of sharing between groups. And then in late 2022, we hope to have our production infrastructure with the applications already fully integrated into this concept of a mesh. So in conclusion, there are lots of things in this workshop which I hope you will be able to discover. But as I said, this is also about your ideas. So please don't be shy, and let's discuss. Let's brainstorm on what are the possibilities for the future. And it's also up to you to help us steer this project in the right direction. So we hope you will like the workshop, and that's all for me. Let's move to the actual more technical content and see the really nice things that our colleagues have been working on. So are there any questions?
So do you see the raised hands? So Alan has a raised hand.
Yes, I see a raised hand indeed.
You can.
There are two raised hands actually. There's Alan. Yes, Alan, please go ahead.
Yes, on two of the slides you showed SciEBO and also Describo, both of which use RO Crate, and I was wondering whether there were any plans at all to support RO Crate within CS3MESH and directly support, and if so, how? Yes,
maybe Guido will want to add something on this, but yeah, RO Crate, the plan is to have it as a first-class citizen in this prototype we're developing. Basically use it as the exchange format, also with Invenio RDMs and Odo. We're also trying to agree with them that they also integrate this into the actual Invenio workflow. But Guido, maybe you want to add something to that.
That's essentially it. Stay tuned until about 10:40 when we'll have a demo on it. It's not just a first-class citizen, it's our de facto standard. It's what we use for packaging, for annotation, what we will use for packaging, annotation, and transfer.
That's excellent news. Thank you very much.
Great. So we have another raised hand. That's Maria, I believe. Hi, Maria. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this presentation and the previous one and all of this event. The talks I could follow were really fantastic. I just wanted to ask, what is the formal channel for what you said at the very end, for joining, for sharing ideas, for participating? I saw the websites you mentioned, but is there a formal way?
We do have a project email, and we have our Gitter channel actually. So we have a public Gitter channel where you can join and we can discuss. But if you really want a formal way, I guess the email is probably the best. Depends on how formal you want it to be, I guess.
Thank you.
Right, Kuba? Or,
Well, yes, I would say if you would like to make a formal request, use email, and if you would like to have a conversation about anything else, maybe use Gitter or yeah, perhaps using a chat is good enough. If people find it's not good enough, maybe we can set up something else, like, I don't know, a forum or something like that, if you want as well. But there are some existing channels already, so maybe let's try that first. And this is the same channels that are used by people working inside the project to discuss different things, where they discuss technical things, how they do things, etc. So I think the idea here is that I think everybody can join these internal conversations, because they're actually not so much, secret.
Thank you very much.
Also, the project is very practical, so there are already some tools that you can try out, and probably one of the best ways to have like influence on what happens is just giving us feedback on various tools that are here, and becoming just the user of some parts. So then you have influence on in which direction you go.
Thank you for everything.
any other questions? Seems not. So Kuba, I'll give it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So perhaps Rita, you'd like to say a few words about some communication channels or other activities that are dear to your area?
Yes, sure. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Science Mesh workshop, where I'm very happy to be to have you with us. Just a couple of words to add to what Kuba and Pedro said. So there are many channels from where you can get updates from our project. So you may wonder which ones, and I'm going to let you know immediately. So we have the website. It was a new version of the website. It's online since autumn last year. So the classical way would be to go there if you want and check the latest news that we will be publishing there. But we have other channels as well. For example, on social media, we have the Twitter and on LinkedIn, where we'll be publishing in a timely manner the most important recent activities of our project. But you can use these channels not only to follow our news, but you also can use them to contact us. For example, you can send us a LinkedIn message or even make a tweet using our handle if you want to know more about the project, if you want to make any questions, or if you even want to join the project and what we are doing for the Science Mesh, as Pedro said in his presentation. Another channel that we also have is the YouTube account. So during this morning, we'll showcase some practical activities that we are already implementing with Science Mesh. Pierre already gave a very quick overview, but some videos are being published on YouTube. For example, there is a demo which is going to be presented today in this morning, which will be available there if you want to check it again. So this is an important channel. Another thing that you can, if you don't want to worry about going to the website, LinkedIn or Twitter because you are very busy or you may forget, what we will advise you to do is to subscribe to our newsletter. So if you do this, you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry to check our channels. You will receive in your email box without any effort the latest updates from our project. And during this conference, which is also important, we also have the Gatortown venue. So exploit that as much as you like to speak with any of us about the Science Mesh and the CS3MESH4EOSC. Apart of this, I think I just said what I would like to share with you. And once again, thank you very much for being here with us. And let's hope by next year for the second edition of this workshop, we are planning to have a second one by January next year. We'll hope we'll be able to see you face to face. Let's see how this year will go. And thank you everyone for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Rita. Any questions to Rita? On the communication channels, we'll make sure that the slides are uploaded so you can always refer to all these links, etc.
And I'll share the links also here on chat so it's easy to click and follow it.
Okay, very good. So
perhaps one thing, noticing that there is a wide audience out there of people that we haven't necessarily talked to, not only do we have an outreach task, we are actually available for reaching in. If somebody has a particular conference or workshop series that they'd like to have some more information on, we're on call to a certain limit, but although I'm available for exotic locations on outlier islands.
Never disappointing, Guido. Okay, now that's a very good comment. So let's move on.